This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Outlook, seasonal outlook taking us from June through September of 2017. This is Basil Numerzitsky. So in terms of our contents, we'll go over some recent past weather conditions, also drought conditions that incorporate the past unto today, and looking at the state of current fuels which respond to all that. And once we have those pieces of the past, we start looking more into the future with El Nino or La Nina patterns and expected climatic outlooks, expected weather from June through September, which eventually leads to our fire outlook from June through September. So taking a look first at temperatures and precipitation for May. Temperatures on the left-hand side, near normal to slightly cooler than normal, as you can tell by the green shades and yellow shades, anywhere from 0 to maybe 4 degrees cooler than normal in most areas. A few pockets of slightly warmer than normal. We'll just call it slightly cooler than normal. We will also call it drier than normal. You can see through here lots of areas in the orange and reds, anywhere from near 50 to 25% of normal rainfall. The little dots you see there are due mainly to some thunderstorm type activity which produced localized amounts of heavier rains, except they were not really that widespread. Not until you get into the far upper regions up into Idaho, where they had more significant precipitation across May and much of this past winter. Looking at winter precipitation, since October 1st, you can see much wetter than normal across a good portion of western Wyoming through Idaho, especially across the northern portion of Nevada. Very critical here because a lot of this goes into growing better grass crop. And some of this wetter than normal, this purple shade, 150% of normal for the winter season, extending down into central and western portions of Utah as well, and moderately wet here, a little wetter than normal across the Arizona Strip. And of course, in the upper elevations, that translates to an above normal snowpack. Anywhere you see the light to dark shades of blue, anywhere from 140 to over 200% of normal snowpack. This is going into early portion of May. But you can see the snowpack was quite a bit lower across our southern Utah mountains. So the cutoff was basically across central Utah, central Nevada on northwards. And this is a picture of it May 18th, after about a foot of fresh snow on top of about 10 feet of existing snowpack on the upper portions of the Wasatch. And here's another way of looking at it. Wherever you see this darkest shade of green, this is where stations have recorded their wettest late fall and winter precipitation in that station's history. So you can see very wet, and again across Nevada here, especially elevations below 6,000 feet where grass and brush dominate, this could lead to an above normal grass crop and down into parts of western and central Utah as well, and parts of southern Idaho as well too. So we'll have to watch for those areas once the grasses and brush start to dry out. Here's a visual look, Ochre Mountains of north central Utah. This is a west aspect, late May, between 5,000 and 8,000 feet. You can see the grass coming out good, cheatgrass, some brush, and in various shades of green up, and some of the early grasses are cured out. So starting to get there as we're going into June, but you can see some of the greenness extends well up into the maybe 7,000 to 8,000 foot range. And this is a west-facing aspect, so north aspects, east aspects will be somewhat less cured out. Looking at drought conditions, minimal across the area, across the west, a big departure over the past several years, and no significant drought development is expected for this upcoming season. So what about our fuels in more detail? Let's take a look at the observed 100-hour fuels. This is as of the end of May, and you can see here in this reddish shade getting towards critical levels. So in the finer grass and brush, less than 5% in southern Utah, the Arizona Strip, and southern Nevada, and even portions up here in northwestern Nevada. Some areas that haven't had grass in a couple of years have gotten good precipitation and are starting to dry out very quickly, even into parts of southwest Idaho as well. Now, if we look at our heavier 1,000-hour fuels, we can see that moderately dry across our southern areas, but still quite moist across a good portion of the Wasatch up into the Tetons and the mountains of central Idaho. And looking at a few spots that we are concerned about in our Great Basin Predictive Services Zone 17, down here in southeastern Nevada and also in southwestern Utah, you can see here that our ERCs are above normal and approaching record levels. So those are areas that are drying out, and we'll have to watch pretty carefully as we go into June. So anything from El Nino or La Nina, these are the Pacific water temperature anomalies. Here's the South American coast. And you can see we were significantly warmer than normal, but that's kind of faded. It looks just like a bunch of blobs of warmth and normality, but overall warmer than normal, but without any good definition. Another way of looking at it is through the subsurface, and there is some subsurface warmth off the Asian coast, which could start making a beeline towards the South American coast and could strengthen El Nino a little bit. And the reason we show that is that the computer models from where we are now, taking us through June, July, August, September, you can see the months down here below 3-month averages, takes us into the weak to maybe moderate stage of El Nino. The average is probably a weak El Nino towards the end of the year, not strong enough to have any large implications on our weather in the short term. So that's where we stand right now. So we put this all together, past weather, drought, live fuels, dead fuels. Now we have to take a look at what happens from here. So this is the Climate Prediction Center outlook from Noaa for June. And you can see there's an above normal precipitation signal that's across our northern and eastern areas, kind of shifted over to the east. So most areas stay fairly normal, maybe a slight push towards warmer than normal across the western portion of the Great Basin, maybe a little cooler than normal across northeastern portions of the Great Basin into western Wyoming. Now we take a look at the 3-month outlook from July through September, and again, it looks like the main monsoonal push could be east of the Great Basin this year, more into Colorado, Wyoming, and into the Plain States. If that happens, Nevada will be drier, and after a wet winter, that could be big trouble for some of those fuels curing out. There is a warmer than normal signal temperature-wise for those areas as well. So that's going to be a big focus for us over in Nevada, where they had that record precipitation that we looked at before. So we put these pieces together, and for the June outlook, because of our snowpack and wet winter, the mountains of Idaho, western Wyoming, eastern Idaho, and the Wasatch and Uintas, and even a little strip along the Sierra front should be below normal fire potential, normal everywhere else for June, which means some places in the south that do start getting large fires in June probably will so again. Now for July, those areas that are below normal stay there. However, this area of above normal is expected in these areas that had near record rainfall this winter. Should be carrying out grass, and once the brush and live fuel moisture starts getting down to certain critical levels, we could have a good push of large fire potential here into a good portion of northwest and north central Nevada, maybe even a little bit further east and north of here into southern Idaho, and maybe into far western portions of Utah. I'll have to keep an eye on that. And we'll keep that fire potential going into August and September. At this point, no real reason to take it out, especially if the monsoon activity stays a bit further to our east. At this point, we've removed the upper elevations from below normal and just made them normal, because by that time they should dry out and we could have a shorter, but possibly a couple big fires during the latter portion of fire season. This concludes our outlook. These outlooks are issued on the 1st of every month. The next one will be coming up on July 1st.